Jesus Christ!
A team of American paratroopers led by Sergeant Renson are sent to occupied France with orders to take down a Nazi radio jamming tower mounted on a church roof just before the invasion of Normandy. On the drop night, their plane is met by heavy anti-air fire. The fuselage is struck and the men are forced to jump. The plane spirals and explodes in midair, and the survivors tumble out into the dark, land in the sea and swim ashore under fire. Private Ed Boyce finds Corporal Ford on the beach, shaken and alone. As they regroup, they spot Renson captured by Nazi soldiers, dragged off and executed in front of them. Boyce sees it, but Ford clamps a hand over his mouth so the others don't hear. Together they push inland through the trees and soon find Tibbet, Chase and Dawson hiding in the woods, dazed but alive. As they move toward their target, Dawson accidentally triggers a landmine hidden under the forest floor. There is a flash, an explosion, and Dawson is killed in a blast that sends debris flying and throws the men to cover. The remaining squad presses on into the woods. Soon they glimpse a young French woman walking by a quiet path, Chloe. Ford orders the men to follow quietly, since if they are spotted, the mission is lost. Boyce catches up to Chloe, greets her in French, and tells her they mean no harm. After a tense moment, she reluctantly agrees to guide them to her house. Chloe leads them into the occupied village. A neighbor notices someone creeping past curfew and alerts German soldiers patrolling the street. Chloe steps in, talking calmly to the Germans while the Americans remain hidden in her shadow. She brings the men to her home, an old house she shares with her little brother Paul and her Aunt Simone, who lies in bed, weak and wheezing. The men hide in the attic above the house. Paul wants to play catch with Tibbet, but Tibbet brushes him off, distant and focused, and meanwhile Chase heads out with Tibbet to scout the rendezvous site. Outside the village, the Germans drag a man and woman from their home, march them to the street and execute them in full view of the villagers. Chloe's voice cracks as she whispers that this is what happened to her parents. Chloe carefully cleans and wraps Boyce's bullet wound, while quietly explaining how the Germans destroyed her family. Her parents were taken by soldiers and never seen again, leaving her to care for her sick aunt and young brother, Paul. Boyce listens with sympathy, then distracts Paul by tossing him a small ball, giving the boy a brief smile in the middle of their fear. The quiet doesn't last long. Heavy boots stomp outside and a group of German soldiers comes for an inspection. Their leader, Captain Wafner, steps into the house. Boyce hides in the attic again while Chloe opens the door, pretending nothing is wrong. Wafner looks around suspiciously, asking sharp questions about her being out past curfew. His tone turns threatening as he moves closer to Chloe, trying to intimidate her. He tells her she can make things easier for herself if she cooperates, then roughly grabs her. Chloe freezes, terrified. Before Wafner can hurt her, Boyce bursts from hiding and attacks. The fight is brief but violent until the soldiers overpower Boyce. Ford and the others rush in to help, subduing Wafner and tying him up in the attic, where he struggles and curses them in German. The squad now has a dangerous prisoner in their hands. Soon after, Ford orders Boyce to head out alone and locate the rendezvous point. Moving through the dark forest and ruins, Boyce spots the old church that holds the Nazi radio tower. As he gets closer, he's nearly caught by guards. With no choice, he dives into the back of a truck loaded with the corpses of fallen soldiers. The stench is overwhelming, but it keeps him hidden until the truck reaches the church grounds. Inside, Boyce discovers a secret underground laboratory. Strange machines hum and the air smells of blood and chemicals. He sees horrifying sights, twisted human shapes and lifeless bodies hanging from hooks. Then he finds Rosenfeld strapped to a table, a large needle sticking out of his body. Boyce pulls the needle free, helps him escape, and grabs one filled with a glowing serum before sneaking back out. Returning to the attic, Boyce shows Ford the syringe and explains what he saw beneath the church. Wafner refuses to speak, so Ford beats him in anger. The men realize the Nazis are hiding something monstrous, and they must plan carefully before striking the tower. Ford orders Chase to go upstairs and untie Wafner so they can get inside the church compound. Chase shoulders the task, stepping over broken wood and debris as Wafner lies bound. But just as Chase loosens the last knot, Wafner springs up, snatches Chase's pistol and opens fire. Bullets rip through the room. Ford, Boyce, and the others rush in. But as they reach Chase, he collapses, blood spreading across the floor, and he dies in Ford's arms. Without hesitating, Boyce grabs the needle with the experimental serum, presses it into Chase's arm. At first nothing happens, then Chase's body jolts. He gasps, sits up and lashes out with strength beyond human. Ford watches as Chase's eyes roll back. His muscles bulge and he begins to mutate in front of them. The once friendly comrade transforms into a vicious monster, roaring and attacking his teammates. Ford fires his rifle repeatedly, the bullets bouncing off him, but Chase keeps coming. Boyce, forced into action, lifts a heavy piece of wood and smashes his head with a wet, brutal impact until finally the beast falls still. Wafner, bloodied and wild-eyed from the chaos, grins as he lies on the floor. He tells them this is exactly what the serum does. It turns men into unstoppable shooters. The Nazis plan to reign supreme for 1,000 years. Then he slips free of his weak bonds, and in the confusion he escapes out the door. Outside, Ford and his men open fire at the German soldiers moving in, bullets kicking up dirt, shots and screams. Wafner staggers out of the ruins, half his face blown away, left hanging in the smoke, missing an eye. As Ford watches him vanish into the night, he makes a hard choice. Take down the radio tower now, Paul's rescue second. Boyce and Chloe exchange a look of fear and anger. They disagree. Quietly, they slip away to make their own decision. Paul comes first. Meanwhile, Wafner barges into the laboratory, finds Dr. Schmidt pacing among monitors. Without warning, Wafner injects himself with 2 full syringes of the serum. His body shifts, skin ripples, he roars with madness. The germ of a new threat born. The Americans capture a German soldier and strap explosives to his body, using him as a way to breach the heavily guarded church. The explosion tears through the entrance, sending smoke and debris across the courtyard. Tibbet and Rosenfeld stay outside, holding off the German reinforcements with steady bursts of gunfire, while Boyce, Ford, and Chloe slip inside through the chaos. Inside the dark corridors, Chloe is ambushed by a German soldier who drags her toward a cage holding one of the mutated creatures. The soldier tries to push her toward it, hoping the monster will tear her apart. Instead, the mutant snaps free and kills the soldier in a violent rage. The creature then turns on Chloe, forcing her to grab a nearby flamethrower and set it ablaze. Flames roar through the hall as the monster collapses in smoke and screams. Chloe finds Paul and pulls him to safety, dodging bullets as the Germans open fire. Outside, Tibbet fights to protect Paul while wounded, his body weakening as he pushes through the hail of gunfire. Inside the lab, Boyce and Ford face Dr. Schmidt and the monstrous Wafner. Boyce struggles against Schmidt, blocking a knife strike before turning it on the doctor and ending him. Wafner then seizes Ford and drives a metal hook through his shoulder, hanging him in agony. Boyce distracts the creature long enough for Ford to rip himself free and inject the serum. Empowered but doomed, Ford attacks Wafner head-on. Boyce hurls a fuel tank and shoots it, igniting an explosion that shakes the entire church. Ford, knowing there's no escape, stays behind to set off the final charge. The blast engulfs the lab and tower, destroying Wafner, the mutants, and Ford himself. Boyce emerges into the ruined village, finding Chloe and Paul alive beside the wounded Tibbet. Later in London, he reports the mission a success, but he keeps the truth about the experiments buried forever.